Welcome to Ellatron, a musical instrument for the iPhone and iPod Touch. Inspired by the Mellotron M400, the classic British keyboard instrument of the 1960s, Ellatron recreates the dreamy sounds of the Summer of Love. First, we'll walk you through Ellatron's user interface. As Ellatron powers up, this is what you'll see. The classic 3-octave range of the Mellotron M400 is available, split over a pair of keyboards, a bass keyboard with a range F to B, and an upper keyboard from C to F sharp. The control area at the top houses the controls that are available while you're playing Ellatron. There are 3 rotary controls on the left: a volume control, a pitch bender, which allows bends of up to a full tone up and down, and a tone control, which supports some subtle tone shaping. These are controlled by touching the knob and dragging left and right, rather than up and down. Of course, this means that your finger obscures the knob, so if you touch on the knob, then drag your finger down the iPhone screen, and then drag it left and right, it will achieve the same effect. To the right of the rotary controls are 2 buttons. One is labeled Step Sequencer, and it's currently grayed out. That function is in development and it will appear in Ellatron 2.0, which will be a free upgrade for all Ellatron users. The other button is labeled Control Panel, and it brings up a large control panel which temporarily replaces the upper keyboard. To bring back the upper keyboard, simply hit the Control Panel button one more time. The control panel houses a small number of buttons and a large display. Across the top of the control panel are 3 buttons. The left button changes the upper keyboard from its C configuration to an F configuration, and the middle button does the same for the lower keyboard. This allows for a very flexible keyboard layout, where both keyboards can play in the lower register or in the upper register, if a given piece of music demands it. The current keyboard status is reflected in the large display on the right, which is useful as the upper keyboard is invisible at this time. The final button at the top of the control panel introduces a simulation of tape, wow, and flutter into the playback. Since the Mellotron was a tape-based instrument, wow and flutter was part of its unique charm, and Ellatron faithfully recreates that not quite in tune sound. Finally, the 4 triangular buttons to the left of the large display are used to select which tape frames are currently installed in Ellatron's keyboards. Of course, this happens instantaneously, whereas a classic Mellotron 400 took several minutes to swap out a tape frame. One final thing before we go to the live demo of Ellatron. The small display on the control area shows you which tape frames are currently installed. Not only that, this display is also touch sensitive. By touching near the top right of the display, the upper tape frame will step forward, and the lower left will make the lower tape frame step backward. All 4 corners of the display are active, allowing tape frames to be rapidly changed during a performance. Okay, enough of that. Let's hear some classic 60s sounds. How about some flutes? Strawberry Fields, anyone? Doesn't that sound like the Beatles? And here's a string section, beautifully reproduced. Okay, who thought Knights in White Satin when they heard that one? Now brass on the upper, woodwinds on the lower. Here, choir and strings are on the 2 keyboards. Both are configured to the lower register, which is my favorite part of the Ellatron range. All very prog rock and all classic Mellotron sounds, but now for some interesting additions. Ellatron contains 3 organs, all subtly different, and all very cool and flexible. Try playing with the tone control with the organs. It's very effective. And step back now, here comes the science. Ellatron contains a set of swept resonant, low-pass filters. Science over. Basically, this makes the synth sound nice and squelchy. Here's an example, the tape frame called PWM synth. The filter sweep is being computed live. It is not part of the sampled audio. And finally, we have a selection of thunderous drum loops. And that's Ellatron version 1. We hope you've enjoyed it. Ellatron is available internationally on the iTunes App Store, and it's an exclusive for iPhone and iPod Touch. Ellatron, the sound of the 60s in your hip pocket.